I represented the Ikenobo school at the Tenno Tanjobi in Montreal. This event is the Japanese national holiday, the anniversary of the emperor. I decided to create a rika, the school's traditional arrangement, and I obtained this traditional bronze vase from Professor Rosa. Thank you, Rosa, for the superb vase. I went through some books with good examples of rika to see what would inspire me in this very special creation, a light and cheerful rika. I wrote my blueprint. I added a yellow chrysanthemum, the national symbol of Japan. Also, the rising sun in red, the color white to represent an anniversary, and a touch of Quebec with a blue iris. Of course, we are in spring, so having flower buds is a good idea. Rika represents a landscape with its mountains and rivers through a floral arrangement. In this video, I will describe the different elements of a rika. The rika is like a tree. It has a trunk and starts a few centimeters above the vase. This is called the Mizugiwa. This marker reminds me how high the Mizugiwa is. My blueprint is ready and I've acquired my materials. It's time to create. It's 9 in the morning and everything has to be in the car by 2. Quick, let's get to work. Rika consists of 9 main elements called yakueda. The first one is called shin. The shin serves as the main element. It represents the highest peak. Its size and shape are precise. It is important that it has the right height and presence relatively to the vase. Its point of curvature also follows a rigorous code. Rika is a floral arrangement made exclusively with living materials, but it has an artificial part because one can make it stay in place using wires, ribbons, or even nails for the larger arrangements. This holds especially true for exhibitions where the arrangement is in a hostile environment. Heat, wind, strong lights, and curious people touching the branches. So think of it as a necessary evil. A beautiful shin serves as the foundation for the arrangement. We therefore pay special attention to it. The soe represents the second main element. This branch supports the shin and represents the side of the mountain. It is not always necessary to use any artificial means to keep the materials in good condition. If we know that they will not lose their shape during the exhibition, it is always preferable to use other techniques. In nature, straight cuts do not occur. We therefore pay attention to hiding these cuts so that they appear natural. Of course, we need fresh materials, otherwise we will not be able to work with them properly. Pine, a noble material, has a very special place in the design of rika. For this rika, I used it as the uke, the receiver, which represents the mountainous landscape around the high mountain of the shin. It also counterbalances the soe in a different way. Such a branch must, of course, look natural, so I carefully made my cuts less visible. As the receiver, the uke receives the curve of the shin. That's why I made sure it points backward and upward. I keep the uke higher since I can't glue any of the branches back on. When I get to the other yakuedas, I'll be able to adjust its height properly. The sap of the pine tree is sticky and it must be cleaned as quickly as possible. The nagashi resembles a horizon line. Although the uke above it is more massive, it counts as one of the most visible branches for the final shape of the arrangement. We can consider it as the river shore or perhaps even as a small village. Its extremely pronounced curve makes this branch an excellent candidate for a first wire. It's time to bring out the heavy artillery. It won't be the last one anyway. The shoshin marks the center of the arrangement. Typically, people place a small flower or a bud there, but for this arrangement I decided to go with a large yellow chrysanthemum, the national flower of Japan. The Japanese national flower is not the cherry blossom, but the humble and resilient chrysanthemum. The mikoshi represents a distant mountain in the landscape. This branch gives the floral arrangement its dynamism. Usually it's a light blade of grass or a sharp branch. Normally I would have used only the lily bud. However, I decided to simplify my branches and include the Japanese rising sun with a slightly opened red flower. As I have to bend the branch backwards, I also have to hide my wire. I need to measure my uke carefully so that I can make sure it's the right height in relation to the shoshin and the mikoshi. I also need to make it straighter. Let's build up my muscles without breaking anything. The hikae serves as the alter ego of the nagashi. The former one is bigger, like a smaller forest on the side of the clearing at the foot of the mountain. It helps to continue the line of the nagashi and reminds of the uke without attracting too much attention. we finally made it to the last two yakueda at the front. The first one is the do. If you like this video, please like it and subscribe to the channel. You are listening to the result of hundreds of hours of work, and we appreciate your support. We also appreciate your comments and the share. The do consists of three distinct parts and represents the core, the starting point of the whole arrangement. A well-executed do will function as the quiet yet powerful force of the arrangement, giving it all its weight without dethroning our other yakueda. When you do your first rika, you think you'll finish soon, as only two yakuedas remain. That's when you realize how long and arduous the last part is. 18 branches await us here. And that's not counting the additional elements, the ashirai. This arrangement has 10 of them. Phew, I've almost finished the do. Finally, here we are at the ninth and final yakueda, the mae-oki. The word mae-oki means placed in front. It provides the foundation in front of the arrangement, giving a visual aid to separate the do and the mizukiwa. For this yakueda, I decided to use white, the color of celebration. The wax flowers enhance the arrangement with a refined aspect without distracting the attention of the observer. When I started designing this rika, I decided not to attach the kenzan. The kenzan is the iron base to which I attach the various materials. This ensures that my arrangement is well balanced. It should maintain equal weight on the left and right and the front and back. Also, you should normally use wires to tie the different branches together. As I will have to take everything apart and put it back together again, I have decided not to use any wires, but that means that my materials can easily fall off the kenzan, an additional challenge. I'm coming to the end of my Yakuedas. Finally, it's past noon, 3 hours of work for the Yakueda. The clock ticks. We are now getting to the asherais. The asherai serves as additional branches that allow the floral arrangement to be balanced properly. The first asherai I add is the oha, typically made up of large leaves, and allows me to join the shoshin flower and the soe branch, and provides a background for the dough. It is important to balance the size of the oha. It's an extra element after all, and it shouldn't monopolize all the space. It is ironic to think that an element made up of large leaves should appear reserved, but as you will see, this holds true. The smallest leaf of the oha shows its back. It forms a leaf cluster. The kidome highlights the branchy materials to the right of the floral arrangement. It provides a link to the central maeoki, the vase, and the mizugiwa, the trunk. Without it, the nagashi above will not stand out as much. The beautiful branch of Veronica does not add too much weight, but takes on its full meaning by supporting the pussy willow catkins of the nagashi. On the other side, we find the kusadome. Once again, it helps the material on top of the kusadome. As the hikae is a small branch, so too is the kusadome. The ushiro gakoi serves as the filling at the back of the arrangement. Spruce has very prickly branches. Let's clean up a bit. Just as the Mae-oki points forward, the Ushirogakoi points backward. Looking at the arrangement, I prefer to keep the Ushirogakoi relatively small so that it doesn't compete with the pine. It is traditionally as large as the Oha, not this time. We are starting to get to the last branches. As I am using light branches with willow catkins, I need to add some weight to them. The Uchi-zoe and Soeshita elements help to emphasize the shin and the soe. During installation, a branch of the Ushirogakoi fell, and now they're okay. That'll teach me not to use wiring to hold branches. Rika requires a lot of branches. The Kenzan used in this vase is small. Not only did I run out of space, but I didn't fasten my Kenzan or my branches together. This presents a good opportunity to clean up even if I have to leave in less than 30 minutes. Phew, I can put on my Uchi-zoe, giving weight to the shin. And add the Soeshita, giving weight to the soe. Let's pretend an animal ate the tip of this branch. The Nagashi Uchi constitute a small, striking element at the top of the Nagashi. Once again, the color white and chrysanthemums follow the style of this floral arrangement. No more time to think about the camera. The Hikei ue sits above and behind the Hikei, representing the color of the rising sun. Since I have a small Nagashi Uchi white accent on the right and a massive yellow shoshin, this ashirai, which should have been small, restores balance to the arrangement. The Kusamichi represents a river wandering through the mountains. The branches look randomly placed, but this river must be near the Oha in the same section as all the other flowers. This iris also symbolizes the Quebec. The Hirogiri marks the final Ashirai of this arrangement. Not strictly necessary, it typically allows for the separation of the Do from the Maeoki when they are the same. However, as I have a lot of white, adding a few yellow hearts adds a cheerful touch, breaking the routine. The Rika is completed. All that remains is to put everything in the car, then reassemble it. Thank you for following my adventure. I'll let you watch the final montage and reveal. See you next time.